Well, hello and welcome to the March 2018 edition of the Plympton Podcast. I'm Andrew Hill. This month we speak with a lady who did well in a poetry competition held at the British Red Cross bookshop here in Plympton, and we find out why a local gym owner decided to lie on a bed of nails for an hour. But firstly, a mammoth peal of bells rang out across Plympton for more than 3 hours one Saturday morning recently. I went along to St Mary's Church to hear some of that peal and to find out what it was all about. Right, well, here I'm at Plympton St Mary's Church, and you can hear in the background the bells are ringing. With me now is Christine Harris. Now, Christine, what's going on here today?
Well, there's a team of 8 bell ringers who are ringing a peal of Bristol Surprise Major, which is taking coming up to 3.5 hours, non-stop, the same 8 ringers all the way through. And they're doing it in honour of my husband Robert being made a prebendary recently of Exeter Cathedral.
Okay, and what is that actually?
What, a prebendary?
Yes.
Well, now it's an honorary post in recognition of service to the diocese. And Robert's, we were in Ilfracombe for 5.5 years before we came here. Robert's heavily involved in the education department in the diocese. So he was very thrilled and honoured to be asked to be a prebendary. Historically, he used to get a prebend would have got the income from certain fields and the produce of those fields in the parish, but obviously that doesn't happen anymore. So he was given a small loaf of bread at the service, which was a few months ago now, which I think he's given to his sister to be varnished so that we can keep it somewhere safe.
So it's not been eaten; it's going to be kept as a memento.
Yeah, he's going to keep it as a memento. He gets to wear a pink cassock. Or a black one with red beading round it, so that people would know, well, church people would know that he was a prebend rather than a.
So as people come to this church
yes.
in the future, they'll see him wearing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here today with the bells ringing, I gather you've got some visiting bell ringers.
Yeah, they're all visitors, because to be able to ring for 3 hours non-stop needs a certain amount of stamina, and you need to know the method that you're ringing really well so that you don't go wrong. The conductor of the method is the one who will tell people when to he will call bobs and singles, which basically swaps a couple of bells over so they can start the pattern all over again.
And that's why it takes so long. I think you said there was about 8,000 combinations or something, didn't you?
This one, there's probably about 5,200 and perhaps a little bit more. And like I say, it's non-stop, so it's very energetic.
And I remember from an occasion when I went up and had a look at the bells a couple of years ago, they're quite big, so it is quite a task to be ringing them for such a long period of time.
The heaviest bell is 2,500 weight, and the bells swing almost a whole circle, so you do need to, and they've got to be able to stay in rhythm with each other, so it's very skilled but good fun. And
the type of ringing that goes on here today for this particular event is different than what normally happens in this church. I gather you do what's known as call ringing usually. What does that involve?
Normally we do call change ringing, so if you've got 8 bells, then the person who's calling will say the second bell follow the third bell, or 2 to 3, and you only swap over 2 bells at a time. But with method ringing, all the method ringers know the pattern, and they're all swapping all the time. So that makes it more complicated.
Yeah. Have you had any sort of nervous moments when you think, the bell's going to last a full 3.5 hours?
Oh, I would hate to say. No, it's been very good, and there's been 1 or 2 times when Mary, the tower captain, is sort of sitting here with me when we've sort of like looked at each other and thought, but it recovered really quickly, and it's been really lovely to listen to.
And I gather you've you practice down here with the bell ringing on a Monday night, and you've got all sorts of ages involved. I think you've got a young chap at 20. Did you say?
Well, today the youngest ringer here today is 20,
right.
Is in his early 20s, and the rest are all probably 60s and older. So, yeah, we're quite keen to get younger ringers in.
To keep the tradition going, because I mean, it is part of the sort of ancient custom of the area to do the church
right,
bells,
like Morris dancing. All these older traditions are desperate to get younger folk in.
Okay, so if anyone is interested, they could pop down on a Monday evening and chat to somebody about...
Well, at the moment, we're not in a position to teach anybody here, but obviously, come and talk to us, ask us, or pop into St Maurice on a Wednesday, and we'll be gladly show them, let them have a go, whatever.
Yeah, okay. Well, congratulations on this event today, and indeed to Robert for being made a prebendary of the Exeter Cathedral, and all the best for the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Strongman Steve Swatton, who runs the Flex Fitness Gym in Valley Road, has performed a number of fundraising stunts over the years, ranging from a wheelbarrow push around Burr Tour to carrying a large tractor tyre across St Mary's Park, and even pulling a double-decker bus across the George Junction Park and Ride car park. A few weeks ago, though, he set himself a rather different challenge, lying on a bed of nails for an hour. He successfully completed the task, and afterwards I spoke with him about his challenge. Well, Steve, many congratulations. You've just finished your hour-long stint on the bed of nails here, and your stomach's looking a bit like you described as a plucked chicken there. What gave you the idea of coming up with this stunt today?
Well, it was a friend of mine, Declan, that was here a moment ago. I got an open challenge on Flex Fitness Facebook page, and he challenged me to lay on a bed of nails. So that's the type of friends to have, isn't it?
And we threw the apple at it just to see how sharp those nails were, and they certainly were sharp, because it went in more or less about 3/4 of the way through that apple.
Yeah, I know, yeah. It's quite surprising, isn't it?
So what sort of mental fitness did you have to get yourself into to actually be on there for that length of time?
Well, you've got to just do it and not think about it too much, really.
So were you sort of detuning out while you're in the for that hour-long stunt?
Just like most things I do, not worry about the consequences, and hope nothing bad happens,
And Jeremiah's Journey obviously is a very good cause to be raising funds for. So you've done quite a few of these types of stunts over the years. I remember you pulling the bus back along up at the George Park and Ride. Then last year you carried that great big tractor tyre through St Mary's Park.
Yeah.
You never seem short of ideas of a different type to come up with.
I've got plenty of time to think about it. Sat down here most of the time just thinking of different things and that. I like to do something a little bit different, a little bit out of the ordinary. A lot of the stuff I do is old stuff, and I've just reintroduced it.
And this bed of nails you made yourself, I believe?
My mate Declan made it. I'll give him a hand for it, but it's not made very well. It's strong, but the nails were put in by hand, and some of them weren't put in straight, so it makes some a bit longer and some a bit shorter than the others, but it all adds to the character of it. Yeah. So you've been doing some practice towards today. So it's ended up being, when you put all those practice sessions together, it's been more than an hour than on that bed. It conditions your mind, yeah.
Okay, well, we look forward to your next stunt at some stage in the future. But for today, many congratulations,
Thanks,
Steve.
Andrew.
Last month, Jean Party got a highly commended certificate for her poem A Plastic World, which she entered in a competition staged by the British Red Cross Bookshop in St Stephen's Place. Following that, she went in as a guest on Charlotte Willis's hospital radio programme Tea Time Treats to talk more about her literary skills.
Well, we've got Jean with us. Good evening, Jean.
Good evening, Charlotte.
Jean's here tonight to tell us about poetry, and let me just give you a brief insight. I met Jean at the Red Cross charity shop, and they were holding a poetry competition type thing, and I kind of asked Jean if she'd come in, do an interview and a little bit of a session and tell us about what made her get into it. As you know, for those of you that know me, I'm a very big literature and poetry fan and write my own stuff, and they were going to hear about Jean's.
Oh, I hope not. Not too much.
Not too much, no. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jean.
Well, I was born in Plymouth, so I'm a Plymouth girl. Born on the Barbican. Went to school in Plymouth. Belong to Plympton Bowls Club. I've got 3 children. 2 of them live abroad. One lives in Holland and one lives in Oman. The other one is in Plymouth. I did an Open University course in history.
Wow.
I love it. It's my favourite that is my favourite subject. And I've got 7 grandchildren. The oldest one is 33 and the youngest one is 13. So I'm always travelling between Holland and the Middle East.
All right, cool.
It's very good.
Tell us, how did you get into poetry?
Actually, it got me out of trouble when I was at school. I'd gone out to the Palace Theatre with friends who had come down from Nuneaton, and my mum and dad took me to see a show down there with them, and I didn't do my homework, so I quickly scribbled some lines down and handed it in the next day, and it was held up as the best piece in the class. Now, how I got away with it, I do not know. It was all about a walk in a country lane. So it got me out of trouble, and I scribbled from there on, now and then.
Oh, okay. See, I got into poetry. I was bullied at school, and I used to sit in the library and kind of just scribble away poetry. And now I've made my own book, but I've not had it printed or anything like that. I've just sort of done it like that and continued really with that. And then I would ideally like to turn it into song lyrics, because poetry and music go kind of well together.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a favourite poet then at all?
Well, I like 2. I like Rupert Brooke and Thomas Hardy.
Oh, brilliant, Thomas Hardy. Yes.
Oh. He wrote over 900 poems, you know. Wow.
It is a lot. I will just enlighten guys to my favourite one. It's John Masefield.
Oh, yes.
Sea Fever.
Yeah.
And for me, the other one, my other favourite poetry artist is Michael Rosen. You might be familiar, or maybe not. No. That was mine. And do you have an interest in literature then?
Oh, yeah. I always did well at school in literature and history.
Yeah, kind of go hand in hand. It's like literature and drama kind of go hand in hand.
Yes. Yeah, and music as well. So.
Yes, very much so. So do you have a favourite author then?
Oh, no, I like too many to list, really. Sometimes it's mostly historical fiction that I like, and but I also like detective novels as well. So,
cool.
Yeah, I tend to go between the 2, but there's too many. Peter Robinson, M.R. Hall, that's in the crime scene. Really. Sharon Penman's one of my favourite. She's an American author, but she writes so well about English history.
All right, okay. Not one I'm familiar with, but I'm open to new exciting reads.
And she writes about my favourite king, Richard, the Lionheart.
Oh, right, okay, cool, didn't know that. So obviously we're talking about literature and poetry, music and all in drama and history all going hand in hand. You've had some of your poems published, or is that right, or printed at least?
Yes, in an anthology. Just wrote 2 actually. But,
cool.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
at
least it's an achievement.
About it. Yeah. I just like to scribble for my own benefit.
Yeah. Okay. So, can you tell us, because obviously you've bought your own book in there with your own bits of poem. So they've all got themes pretty much to them, I guess. Can you just sort of give us an insight to what the themes are for a minute, and then we'll hear some of them?
Well, it depends really with me. What something I might sort of think, I really feel about that, like the Brexit. I wrote a very short one about Brexit, but I think I said what should be said. So it just depends, really.
Okay. Right, okay, so what we're going to do is we'll have our first piece of poetry, which you're going to read for us. And I believe this is the one that I actually did here when I was at the judging of the poetry competition down on the Red Cross in Ridgeway. And this is Plastic, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it seems to be very topical at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's like, I didn't realise till the other day, I don't know about anybody else, but you're actually not allowed to recycle your black plastic. Does anybody actually know that? I don't think they've made it common knowledge at this point, but I didn't know till the other day you're not actually allowed to recycle your black plastic in your green bin. So it is odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's exactly what's going on. So, but the more what you were touching on, when I heard you first read this, if you don't mind me saying, it got me thinking about the Blue Planet in the Sir David Attenborough and what he's just been on about recently, and the wildlife getting caught. So I think what we'll do is we'll let Jean read it, and then we'll talk about that poem after that.
Yeah.
So if you would like to read it.
Plastic world. It's a plastic world we live in. It rules our working day. From household items, packaging, and the way we pay. It's a plastic world we live in. From that we can't escape. Natural resource has gone, of course, so plastic's here to stay. What happened to our forest, to rivers crystal clear? Progress comes at a price, but will it prove too dear?
Hospital Radio Plymouth.
This message isn't aimed at you. You know that on a motorway, a red X above any lane means that you can't drive in it and could be prosecuted if you do. But apparently, there are some drivers who don't realise this and are a danger to themselves and to other road users. So those drivers do need to know that a red X above any lane means that the lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, emergency services or road workers. For more details, they should search online for smart motorways.
You're listening to the award-winning Hospital Radio Plymouth.
Yes, that's right. And we still got Jean in the studio. So going back to the plastic poem, that was a lovely poem. Marion, was there something you would like to ask?
How easy is it to write a poem?
The easier it is, usually the better the poem. If you've got to think about it, sometimes you can, I've done it myself, you can try to make it rhyme for the sake of the actual subject. So, it's... If something just comes in your head, just write it down. It doesn't have to rhyme at all. You can just write it, and
Yep.
Do you have to write a poem on a particular subject or a particular person?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't. It's just if something comes in my head and I think, oh, and words just flow, then I write it down. I mean, sometimes it's just rubbish, so... No.
I do have to say that plastic one, the plastic poem really does touch, because we've seen recently on television there's been a lot of fish and mammals washing up with beer bottle plastic, that holds the cans in place. I can't think what you call it, but that type of plastic carrier bags going down deep into the ocean, and it kind of does send a message on. We need to be a bit more careful of how we dispose of our plastics, I think, more than anything. Yeah. And that's kind of been highlighted in your piece of poetry. So now shall we make an attempt to read Remembrance?
Yes, I wrote this because of a broken love affair. 10 years it's been, a long, long time, with not a word, nor yet a line. To know you're well and happy too, I wish I knew, oh, where are you? To hear your voice and see your face, to touch your hand, a quick embrace is all I ask, to still the hurt that lingered on when you were gone. I wonder, did you think of me, a passing thought, where can she be? Or does she ever think of me? And my reply is constantly.
That was really nice. Really enjoyed that. But did you enjoy Marion?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, very powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. Just again, just one of those that came about after, like, I suppose, sitting there maybe for an hour or maybe more. And I mean, that was really good, that one. It was just, it left you wondering at the end, kind of, you know.
Yeah. Never saw him again.
No. Shame that. Your next piece of poetry is called Progress. And do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Give us a bit of insight into that one.
Yes, I wrote this one. I brought my mother up for some treatment years ago. It was for a rodent ulcer on her neck. Anyway, I was sat in the waiting room waiting for her to have her radiotherapy, and this came into my head. So this really is because of my mother.
Oh, okay. Would you like to read that now?
Yes. Have we progressed in medicine? Have we designed a way to work the miracles of healing better far in every way than those oft told by reverends from pulpits Sabbath day? Have we designed the perfect cures, spare parts for anyone, transfusions for the very sick, x-rays and laser guns to kill the cells that multiply and threaten everyone? Have we progressed from nature? Have we forgot the rule that only he who sits above is God, and we are fools to think that we are craftsmen when we are only tools?
That was really powerful.
Very.
Yeah. That was really good. So, Jean, you were telling us just a bit before that you've got an history degree.
Which I did with the Open University.
Yeah.
When I was in my 50s. And I loved it. I'd recommend Open University to anyone who's felt they didn't get the best out of their education or want to improve. It's a really good thing.
And how does that tie in, if you don't mind me asking, how did that tie in with your poetry kind of thing?
I don't know that it ties in with that, because I also like literature as well, but no, I don't think it ties in with it.
Oh, okay, fair enough. And you've done an A-level, you said, in literature many
that's right,
years ago. Yeah?
I did, yeah. Yeah,
I did,
literature, geography and history.
Ah, right, cool. So you saying that you have a rugby club, or you set a rugby club up?
I did set one up, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 81? God. It was a bit... We had a pub at the time in Hoe called the Victoria Inn. Oh,
right, yes. I do remember the pub. I mean, I haven't actually been in there. I just want to clarify now. I haven't been in there, but I do remember.
Yeah, well, it all began as a big kind of joke, you know. And I was bet that I couldn't get a rugby team. And I went around asking everybody, and Plympton Rugby Club helped me out because I couldn't find enough players. And anyway, we started off with one game, and we were going for 13 years.
Oh, okay.
So, but they've now amalgamated with Plympton, so it's Plympton Victoria now.
Oh, right, okay. I mean, when I say I'm more of a football fan, to be fair, than a rugby fan, I have to be honest. And that reminds me, if you are in hospital tomorrow, you can tune in to Plymouth's own game, because I will be here from 3 o'clock with all the coverage and all the scores of I believe it's FA Cup tomorrow as well. But I will definitely be here with all the scores, all the coverage, and you can hear from me at half time and again at full time. I do all the roundup.
You'd like my grandson then, he plays football.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. So the next piece of poetry is based on the rugby, is that right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I wrote it when we were in the pub, and it was just about going to a game, actually. We were there. Myself and one of the other inmates, I nearly called him then. We went off to Cardiff to see Wales play Ireland. We went to the match on Saturday. What excitement there was in the air. The streets were alive, jostling crowds on all sides of paddies and taps who were there. The gates of the ground stood wide open. Ticket holders surged forward in waves, fighting to get through and find a good view of the match that was going to be played. The hum of the crowd became silent, erupting then in a full-throated roar. The teams had appeared, had to be cheered. 15 players the home crowd adored. For the rest, the game was disappointing. Ireland really deserved a good win. 2 tries they had scored, Slattery set up by Ward and McNeil's by a run down the wing. A silence prevailed over the Taffies. Their national pride was in shreds. Pearce dropped a goal straight through the post. A great roar signalled Wales were ahead. It was great at the match last Saturday, even though there was snow in the air. But the whiskey we drank kept us warm. We gave thanks. Wales had won. Lloyd and I, we were there.
Oh, that is brilliant. That really... You can actually feel the pitch in the... Yeah. You could feel the ambience of that, couldn't you, very much? Yeah. That is great. June, you have got another one. It's about education, which I think maybe some of our younger listeners might find interesting.
Well, no, it's the way we speak, really. I called it, it's education, innit?
Oh, do I use that word all the time, innit?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's education in it that helps us read and write. Maths and science languages for the very bright. But English is our mother tongue that youngsters cannot speak. It might as well be Urdu or Double Dutch or Greek. How can we make them listen and reproduce a sound that makes us smile and nod our heads instead of wince and frown? It's education in it that many find a bore. School's not cool. Where's the swimming pool? Learning's such a chore. Newsreaders always speak well, or so it seemed to be. Now it's Brummie, Scouse or Welsh, not good old English BBC.
That's quite good, actually.
Very good.
Yeah, really, really good. I was a 90s kid and literature was a really big thing in my day. Really, really big. In fact, when we'd done our GCSEs, we got given anthologies with poems and short stories in there. Thomas Hardy was in there. And my first ever book that I think I really, really made a connection with, Jill Patton Walsh and The Dolphin's Crossing. That was the first book I really made a connection with.
I'd have to think a long way back. It was probably Enid Blyton.
The Famous Five. Yeah. We were only talking about this last night, me and my partner, about The Famous Five, because I remember reading one book and that was it. I never read... Enid Blyton's like a child's favourite author most times out of 10. Yeah. And it's not something that I've really read a lot of. I have to be honest, I've read more Roald Dahl in J.K. Rowling recently, in recent years. But before that I was reading Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, and All the Hobbit. And then Beowulf and King Arthur, so you kind of see, and then Thomas Hardy and Shakespeare. You've really got to have a good understanding of Shakespeare to know what it's all about. And Shakespeare's sonnets, whatever you want to pronounce it, they are amazing. That guy was so talented. But when you actually sit and read it, even in modern day, the light bulb comes on and you think, that strikes a chord. As we were saying about your plastic poem earlier and the education poem you had, I mean, education changes over the years and it changes with each government as well. And when I was at school, things were strict. And in your time, obviously, they were stricter still. More strict. And now they've just sort of seem to finish half day and there don't really seem to be a lot in the way of...
No. We used to get the cane at my school.
Yeah. We never had that, but we had detention for an hour if you were naughty.
Well, we didn't.
Or, what do they call those rooms where you just go in?
Isolation.
Isolation at Stoke Darmarad, yeah.
Really?
That's where I went, yeah.
Did you? I went to Denport High.
Yeah. So your next piece of poetry is about the famous Brexit. And I say that with caution because I'm sort of torn between whether we should read this or not, but I just really want to hear it, and I think other people might want to hear it, but I'm curious to hear what it's about. Apart from the fact it's about Brexit, it's more what's contents in it.
Well, it came about because I was with my daughter in Holland last September and we went to a neighbour and they kept asking me about why are you leaving Brexit? Why are you leaving? Why is England leaving? We are such good friends and all that. So it's just a very short thing. Brexit. In or out, the question asked everywhere I go. Are we in or are we out? Is it yes or no? What does it really mean to us, and do we really care? Once part of Europe, leave it if we dare. The votes are cast, the answer's out. Politicians reel and shout. It can't be true. We have to stay on our own. Time will tell. Let's not delay.
Brilliant. I can see where you were coming from that. So we thank you very much for coming in and obviously sharing your poetry with us. But it's been most of a pleasure, because I think it's been educational and inspirational, if I do say so myself. So thank you. And just any advice you could give listeners who might be interested in writing poetry?
Just put something down. If it's going through your head, just write it down. It doesn't matter if it rhymes or not. It's not necessary.
Great.
You don't have to make it rhyme.
Well, thanks a lot to Jean coming in, and thanks. The only reason I stumbled on Jean was turning up at a British Red Cross poetry evening where they selected a winner and some. You got a commendation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For Plastic World, and that Plastic World poem I think will stay with me for the rest of my life. And again, thanks a lot, Jean, for coming in.
Thank you.
And that's it for another month. Hope you've enjoyed our selection of items this time. Thanks to audionautics.com for our theme music, and to you for listening. And we play out with more of that mammoth peal of bells at St Mary's Church. Till the next time, bye for now.
The Plympton Podcast.